What's up, everybody? Hey, if you're new here, welcome to Becoming a Better You podcast. I am your host, Keita, and the founder of the Bryson Holman Foundation. And we getting ready to talk about it, y'all. Welcome to episode 6, y'all. We getting there. And I'm so excited. I'm so proud. We did take a break last week just due to some technical difficulties, but we got it fixed and figured out. And so we are back on finishing up the trial part 2. Before we get into it, y'all already know what I need you to do. I need you to go on ahead and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Bryson Holman Foundation. And on TikTok, it is Keita TBHF Podcast. Now, on TikTok, it's a little different because it's more of just my personality and what I like to do and stuff like that. But you can also follow and support us on there. Clips of the podcast are posted on that TikTok page. Also, if you would like to be a blessing, you just want to sow into the podcast, you can be a blessing at Cash App at Pretty Girls Worship. It will be used towards whatever is needed. We do pay for the platform, equipment, internet, whatever. So if you want to be a blessing, that is fine. You can send it here. If you would like to be a part of the podcast, or if you have a small business that you would like me to promote on my podcast each episode, you can reach out to me at the Bryson Holman Foundation at gmail.com. Also, if you have any questions about anything that you have seen so far or anything that you would like us to discuss or talk about, please feel free to reach me at the Bryson Holman Foundation and I will get to you as soon as I can. I am very good at response time. So just send me a message. Even if you just want to say what's up, just send me a message and we can go from there. So let's get started, y'all. How y'all been? Did y'all miss me? I do need y'all to engage in the episodes. When you're in here and you're watching, even though it is streamed live, your engagement still counts. So I need you to like, I need you to comment, say hi. I need you to share it if you feel need be, and just engage with whatever's going on, whatever's being talked about. So we're going to finish off from last week where we talked about the trial and things got a little emotional. I do try my hardest not to be overly emotional when I talk about certain things, just because, I need to get the story out, and I don't want it to be clouded with the fact that, sometimes my emotions do run high when talking about it. However, it's a touchy subject. Some reliving some things are just hard to talk about without having some type of reaction. And so that's what we're here for. We keeping it real. We just being honest and straightforward. So leaving off, starting back from where we left off, he had just did the interrogation. We were able to watch that video and just to see his insincerity, I guess, if that's the word I would use, and just how it kind of just triggered me back into that same space I was in when it initially happened. And at this point, we are a year later. Yes, we are a year later from Bryson actually passing, and being in court and hearing some things just really, really triggered me. So we were there at Cook County for 4 days. The trial lasted 4 days. The last part of it that I want to talk about is um, one day they called the medical examiner back. And this particular day, she had to go through each and every one of his injuries and bruises. And for that, they had pictures and all of that. So the state's attorney just kind of explained to me that they didn't think it was wise for me to be in the room, but they would keep me downstairs and I can send one of the four people that was with me into the courtroom who felt like they would be able to handle that. So if you remember, it was my husband at the time, he was my fiance, my mother, my friend Robin, and me. So my mother opted out. She was like, I already know I can't take that because these are going to be the pictures that were taken during an autopsy and what he literally looked like with no trying to cover it up. So my fiance went and my friend Robin. I was angry too because I was arguing with them people up and down, like, I can handle it. It's my baby. I want to know everything. I don't want to be left out of nothing. And they just kept telling me, like, we don't think it's wise. Like, you can sit in the victim witness room and we will come out and update you on what's going on. So they were in there. I couldn't hear any other testimony or anything like that. And when CJ and my friend Robin came out, the looks on their face said it all. That was probably the wisest thing I've ever done, was not be in that room. To the point where they didn't even want to talk about it. CJ looked sick to his stomach. It was just, they were very like in a gaze almost when they came out. The state's attorney did promise me that at some point they were gonna send me like everything from the trial or whatever, but I never received it, and I don't think I need it. I don't think I need it. So after that, it was time for the jury to deliberate and come up with their um whether he's guilty or innocent. I don't know why it's slipping my mind, but whether he was guilty or innocent. And so they're doing their deliberation. This is taking all night to the point where they called us and we were downstairs and they were like, you guys can go home for the night, be back here in the morning. And that scared me because I didn't understand what was the issue. Like, the evidence is here. You hear it in the 911 phone call. You hear it in the interrogation room that this man just literally did whatever it was that he wanted to do. And how could anyone doubt? At the time, I did not understand that when you're dealing with the law, okay, if the state charges someone with first-degree murder, they have to prove without a shadow of a doubt that that person premeditated this thing. They have to prove that he planned it out. He knew when he came to get the baby that night that this is what was going to happen, and that he did it in ill intent, and this wasn't just something that happened. In my eyes, from seeing the stuff, I felt like it was premeditated, but you have to prove it to the jury. They have to feel that way. They have to know when they say guilty that this is what it is. So the next day when we got there, they let us know that it was a mistrial. So I'm assuming that it was, majority of the people were saying guilty, and I think it was like one or two that were saying not guilty of that, guilty of the baby, but not premeditated. I was confused. I didn't understand, like, so what now? Like, he gets to come home, The judge was so agitated. If y'all ever met this judge, he's kind of a funny character because he let it be known exactly how he felt about this case. And he basically was trying to rush to do a retrial like immediately. So that was on a Thursday. He wanted them to start picking new jurors as of Monday morning so that we can do it again and be done, because he didn't want to drag the case out. And then this is in September. So then when December rolls around, November, you got the holidays and everything just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. He wanted this to be done. And so the state's attorney told me she would call me and let me know what the next steps was. I was frantic. I believe that whole night I was very like, he's going to get out. If they couldn't prove it this time, who's to say they're going to prove it next week? Like, and then we just started like picking apart pieces of the trial that we felt like they could have pushed harder. But I remember my mom just telling me, like, it's in God's hands. Like, justice is going to be served. You can't panic. You just got to let it play out the way it's going to play out. So that next morning, I went back to work and I got a phone call from the state's attorney. And she says, the defense attorney just left my office and they want to do a plea deal. So I said, okay, well, what's the plea deal? Because you have to agree to that. They can't just say that and be like, okay, well, we plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter and get 3 years and you're supposed to be cool with that. Everybody has to agree that this is the deal. So she said they wanted to do manslaughter, which would have gave him like 7 years. He had already served 2 and some change, so he would have been out in like 3 or 4 years. Absolutely not. And I told her that. I said, absolutely not. You mean to tell me that my baby's life is only worth years? She said, oh no, I was just letting you know, what they were bringing to the table, and to let you know that I didn't accept that. I told them absolutely not. So she said, we can go to trial again, but there's no 2 mistrials and then they're going to try it again. If this time he is found not guilty, that is it. And so she said, what I did offer them was murder, just a murder charge, not premeditated, not first degree, just murder charge, which held 20 years. So the deal was he would have to serve 20 years with no credit for time served, no parole, no chance of parole, and some other little knickknacks that they put in there. And so I said, okay, I will take the 20 years. Because in my mind, I'm like, this man is in his late 30s. By the time he gets out, he'll almost be 60 years old. Like, he wouldn't have seen his other children grow up. He would have missed out on life as much as I have on Bryson. And I just want something to be done. I just wanted something to be done. I did not want him to get away. So I accepted the 20 years. So she told me she would let me know what time I needed to be there. The following, I think was it the next day? So it must have been a Wednesday that she called me. No, it was a Thursday that she called me. And then I went to court on Friday. So, because none of this made it outside of that week. We never end up going into a new week. So she told me to make a victim witness statement and send it to her, because they would have to proofread it and all this other stuff, and then be at court at such and such a time. So obviously the same people came with me. And in my victim witness statement, I don't know how many people really watch like a lot of court TV or anything like that. And you see them on there like, you did this, and they're yelling and screaming, and people are attacking the defense, across the thing. It really was not like that. In my letter, I just expressed the hurt of a mother, somebody who carried a child and couldn't wait to smell that child, couldn't wait to kiss the child, couldn't wait to hold the child. And then one night, send a child with someone who you trusted, and that child never comes home again. What that did to me mentally. I talked about the PTSD. I talked about not being able to watch TV, people always having to be with me, not being able to drive. I talked about how it affected my children who were once straight A students, and that year after, they were getting bad grades. They couldn't focus in school. And then at the end of the letter, I remember saying that I pray to God that Brandon would find God and really be repentive, because when this is all over, this is not the end. When you leave this earth, you still got to meet one more judge. And so I wanted to let the hate and the hurt go. My intentions was, when we left that courtroom, I was leaving it there. I was going to leave the whole situation there. Anything that I felt towards Brandon was going to be left at Cook County. So after my victim witness statement, it wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. There were people in there who were waiting for their case or whatever to be heard, like small matters. And they couldn't believe that they was listening to the sentencing of a person who unalived a baby. And so when I sat down, everybody was hugging me and all of those things. And so the judge looked at Brandon and he said, "Do you have anything that you would like to say?" Brandon got up and he says, "I want to apologize to my family and to Bryson's mother." He couldn't even say my name. That thing, y'all, when I tell you every little thing that I was hearing from him, it was eating me up. It was taking everything in me not to just like holler out loud and be like, how could you? Because anybody who know me, when I argue, babes, I'm picking a piece, everything you say. Every little thing you say, I'm picking it apart. I'm going to pick that part till it's unpickable anymore. And so he continued with, he should have protected Bryson. And I didn't understand that. Protect him from who? From you? Was there somebody else there? He, like, the way he talked, it was just like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? He just said, like, he hopes that everybody finds it in their heart to forgive him, and that he didn't mean to hurt his parents in that way. And that was pretty much it. So now it was the judge's time to talk. And the judge basically said, "I heard your apology." And he told that man, "I feel like it was a load of crap." He said, "For you to not have any remorse in what you said after a healthy baby boy went to your house and never made it back out. The extent of Bryson's injuries and what happened to him would have caused him to have a better apology than that." That judge was not having it. So he basically re-asked him again, like, what do you understand the deal? He said, if it was up to me, 20 years is not enough. He told him, if it was up to me, you would spend the rest of your life in jail. And so he explained the plea deal again. You got 20 years, no credit for time served. You're not gonna be eligible for parole, and you got to serve the whole 20 years. Brandon accepted. He said yes, he understood. The judge said, now I do have the ability to make adjustments to plea deals, and he added on that once Brandon was released, he would be on, I guess, like on probation papers for 5 years afterwards, which means you can't do nothing. You can't hang around felons, none of that stuff, or you can easily be locked back up for 5 years. And Brandon would have to register as a violent child offender for 5 years. No, or it was either for 5 years or for the rest of his life. Which also now makes it difficult once you come out regarding where you live and your jobs and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like the judge wanted him to forever be reminded of what he did. Towards the end, the defense attorney asked, could he wait a day before he was sent to what is that prison they sent there, right? Statesville. Could he wait a day, spend another day in county so that his parents could have time to spend with him? And the judge was like, why? They can't drive to Statesville? And the defense was like, no, it's a long drive, blah, blah, blah. The judge granted that he could wait a day so that they could visit him again in county before he got sent away. When the judge hit the gavel and they put Brandon back in handcuffs and walked him out, I literally just went, because I wanted to leave that part of my life in that courtroom. I wanted it to walk out that door with Brandon. And though my feelings and that relationship and those types of things that had to do with Brandon himself, I felt left that day, I didn't realize that I was in for a rude awakening, that my healing journey would not even begin to start reaching its peak at this point. When we left there, we went, me and my fiance and my friend Robin, we went to get something to eat, and we just tried to enjoy the day because it had just been a rough week. We were just happy that justice had been served and he was behind bars, and everybody knew, like, hey, he did this, and my baby's name meant something to people, to the state, to whoever. It meant something. I have, in 8 years, I have never communicated with him. I've never received any letters or anything like that, which is good because he wouldn't have known where I lived at anyway. According to, like, when you go on like inmate searches or whatever, because you are a victim in it, you are able to like be made alert of when movement is going on. So like when they are transferring him from one prison to the next prison, like you can be alerted on those things. So that is like the only piece of information that I get is where he's at currently. Other than that, I have no desire to know anything. I used to think that one day I would want to I guess have that day where, how prisoners are like, oh, I want to talk to the victim, and I really want to give a sincere apology. I want to give closure. I want to do all of these things. I used to think that I wanted that. This version of me now does not need it. The closure was you being locked up. The closure is me being able to tell my story. And the closure is me being on my healing journey and healing from within. Because there's no amount of words that a person can say that will just magically erase anything. There's no amount of I'm sorry's or anything like that that would just be like, oh, I feel much better now. It doesn't work that way. This will always be a space in my heart that just it can't be filled. I can live a healthy life. I can live a joyous life. I am learning to do those things. I am building a life. I am involved with my children and relationships and things like that. But it's just like there will never be a time where Bryson does not cross my mind. There will never be a time when I think about him that there's not a part of me that wants to know what he would look like now at 8. What would his personality be? All of these things that I'm missing out on because I know that I brought this person into the world and someone else took him out. And in saying that, it doesn't mean that I walk around also hating Brandon. When I pray, my prayer is always, Lord, allow me to continue to walk in forgiveness. Help me to not hate and have hate in my heart. So without a real sincere apology, I am daily walking in forgiving and not really wanting anything to happen to you or ill will. I'm not wishing somebody do something to you. Like I'm done with it, So following that, now that part was over, I guess you could say life kind of went back to normal. You just start creating a new norm. I had something to occupy me because at the time, as I said, I had just got engaged and it was time to plan a wedding. So I was just like putting all my energy into other things. And later on, now I understand that keeping busy is not healing. Staying occupied is not healing. You are just ignoring the problem. In my parenting, in my marriage, in my friendships, there is a pattern of my behavior that caused me to learn how to isolate. It caused me to learn how to shut down. I learned how to shut down from childhood, but it became even stronger once Bryson had died. And because I never really dealt with that or never really acknowledged that, it continued to get worse. I have friends to this day that I love. I love them dearly, but being my friend is rough. So shout out to the ones, y'all know who y'all are, my circles. Shout out to them because they have to love me enough to understand there's nothing wrong with Keita. She's not mad at me. I didn't do anything. I just haven't talked to her in 3 months because she will literally isolate herself. That is one of my main things that I am working on in this chapter of my life is communication and stopping the shutdown. We talked the other week about how when you have low self-esteem, that is triggered from something in your past, right? So mine was triggered from rejection from my father. And in life, without addressing that issue, you just learn certain behaviors and coping mechanisms because of that. Like unconsciously, you don't say like, "Oh, I'm a person who is promiscuous because," until you really do some healing, then you can put two and two together. But most people who suffer from low self-esteem in that way, that started or was rooted from some sort of rejection from a man or a woman, they become promiscuous. Correct? So in my needing to protect myself, for my needing to feel like, I was just telling my mama this, I felt for a long time everyone is always trying to manipulate me, or everyone is always trying to be close to me or befriend me to receive something from me, and then they just toss me away. And so I've built up this, okay, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to be quiet. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to isolate. Won't nobody hear from me for a while till I decide to pop back out. And it's really not healthy. In this chapter, I want to better my communication. I want to better uh, my, I don't want to have to isolate. I don't want to go to isolation. I want to deal with it. I want to deal with what's happening. Um, more of how important it is to really get to know you. A lot of us are still doing things because we've been doing them out of habit, but we haven't gotten to the root of why we are doing the things that we do. Why are you quick to be angry? Why, when you get angry, does it take you back to something somebody did 15 years ago? Why do you feel the need to be a people pleaser? Why is it hard for you to say no? Why is it hard for you to stand your ground? Why is it hard for you to accept compliments? Why is it hard for you to give compliments? Why is it hard for you to be vulnerable? All of these things I have had to literally question for myself and ask myself, like, okay, then if you can't be vulnerable because you feel like you don't have a safe space, and I'm just using this as an example, what would be a safe space for you? Took me a minute to be like, okay, well, what is a safe space? Because I keep saying I don't have one. What is one for me? If you suffer with low self-esteem, okay, well, what makes you feel on top of the world? Those days when you are glowing and you just feel like, what about that day made you feel that way? Was it that you accomplished something? Was it that you just woke up and told yourself that? Are you finally looking in the mirror? What is it that is still driving that low self-esteem? Why are you mean and honoring? I think, well, I know a lot of times we are so scared to take that dive because we don't want to have to go back and rethink and revisit some things. I remember telling people, like, this is just me. I'm defensive. Don't try me. Don't step to me because I'm going to let you have it. I tell it like it is. Yada, 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 yada. Why are you like that? Why was I like that? Because as a child, maybe you felt like you didn't have a voice, or that when you did say things, it went on deaf ears, so you stopped talking. And then as you get older, you decide, I'm going to say whatever I want to say because would nobody listen to me until I said it like this. I want us to get to a point where we are taking the dive, male and women. And I know my podcast mostly has women viewers, but men and women. We make the joke all the time about how sometimes men become habitual cheaters because one girl broke their heart back in 5th grade. And we make that joke, but it's reality though. That is the reason why a lot of people do the things they do and they can't explain it to you what they did. Maybe that girl in 5th grade reminded them of something that their mother did, and that's why they have such a disdain towards women. When we're in church and we're praying and we're worshiping the Lord and all of this stuff, how come you can't retain that information? How come when you go home, you don't feel like you have that strength? Are some of us being pretenders? Your healing journey is not just so that you can make a post and be like, I'm in my healing journey. No, your healing journey is hard. It's hard to face. It's hard to stand up and stand out because people will attack you. People don't want to hear that. People who knew you, they don't want to hear you on a healing journey. You trying to better yourself. They only want to bring up whatever they felt you were in the past. And most of what they tell, they don't even know the whole story. Your healing journey is not roses. You're going to have some dark days. If anybody follows my TikTok, there's been a couple of days that I literally, my post was nothing but today has been a day. I couldn't get out the bed. I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling, what it was, but I had took a dive into some things that I have experienced in relationships. And that thing ate me up, because you also have to understand that everything is not always everybody's fault. They may play a part. They may be at fault for things, but there is also a part of you that accepts a lot. There's also a part of you that attracts different things. And that's in any relationship. That's friendships. I'm not just talking about romantic. That's anything. There's a part of you that attracts certain types of friends. There's a part of you that attracts messy friends. Like I literally had decided to look into that, and that thing. Now, when I woke up in the morning, I said, okay, that was yesterday. We're going to wake up today and we're going to do better. We're going to make better choices, better decisions. And I'm glad that I chose to do this healing journey. I'm glad that my children are still young enough to see their mother evolve. I'm glad that making this step, even in this moment, in this season of my life, before I even hit 40, which I'm 30, I'll be 37 in September, before I even hit 40, to start breaking some of those generational things in my children. My girls will tell you right now, when I talk to them, I tell them, you are beautiful. You are pretty. I don't care. I don't care if you got 3 moles, if you heavy, if you skinny, what, I don't care. You are beautiful. And I don't want you to grow up being like mommy. Don't grow up making your beauty, your thoughts of you being beautiful, your interpretation of you being beautiful being based off of how someone treats you or how many times somebody whistles at you. We stop. Happen. That's not gonna happen. And my son, I have become very open and honest with my kids, because they're in this teenage phase where, they starting to like my son thinks he's a ladies' man. You know, the girls are starting to like boys, and I want them to be well aware of themselves, well aware of emotions, well aware of tricks and things that are just things that people use as a tool to get you. I don't want them to be dumb in this world. I don't want them to be 20 and 21 and having babies and being single moms and then have to wait till they 37 to go through a healing journey. We're not doing that. I understand that I won't be able to shield them from everything because my children have already experienced a few moments of trauma outside of their brother. They deal with fatherlessness. They have they deal with absent fathers who don't want to have anything to do with them, are not around. So they already have a trauma. I know what that feels like. How could I allow them to grow up with that void in them, knowing what I know now, and not try to feed them, to give them knowledge, to love on them, so that they don't feel like they need to fill that void with anything else? Lastly, for this week's episode, because all I wanted to do was really just close up Bryson's story. Um, you gotta keep God first. None of this would have been possible without God. This podcast, the foundation, me telling my story, me even being alive today would not have been possible without God. And when I say that, I don't mean going to church clapping or singing church songs. I mean really praying to God that He sees you, that He hears you. I have attempted unaliving myself once in life with my children and thought about it another time in life. I remember that being one of the darkest moments. You got to be in a real dark place to want to end it all. Especially how we grew up and, you know, what we were told the outcome is. When you do that, you got to really be in a dark place. And I owe it to God because there's obviously a reason that He has me here. There's a reason that these things happen to me. And He literally took me through it, but even with grace. He gave me grace in the things that I messed up myself. He gave me grace. He carried me through it so that I can be able to come on here and tell you all that you too can do it. If not for anything, but to open up conversation. Open up conversation with you and your children. If you have children, open up a conversation with them. How much of your life do they really know? And only you know what they can really handle. But a lot of times we don't give our children enough credit. Maybe you need to have a conversation with your grandma, with your mother. I enjoyed y'all today. I missed y'all so much the other week. Promise you there will be no more missed weeks, hopefully. Longest StreamYard keeps doing what it's supposed to do. We will see you again next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, we have a few announcements. Please support my baby. Her book is on Amazon. She has a publishing company. It's called Unhappy Books, but her book is entitled Looking in the Mirror. You can find that on Amazon, and I believe it is also available on audiobook. And also support my girl, Nicole Mixon with Be Inspired Creations. Okay, if you need anything done for a baby shower, a wedding, a bridal shower, whatever it is, she makes designs for it all. And this is her information. Please follow her on TikTok and Facebook. Again, I appreciate all my followers. To everybody that was texting me last week, just basically saying, like, where's the episode? We missed it. What happened? I appreciate y'all. Y'all push me to keep going. I know it seems like sometimes I'm kind of rushing the story, but there's so many topics that I want to get to. And so I have to finish out one before we can move on to the next thing. But I really appreciate y'all. I appreciate the love. We've reached 5,000, almost 5,000 followers on TikTok. I think we're like 4,600 or 4,700. I really appreciate everybody who's following. YouTube is still running kind of slow, but it does get some type of traction for those who don't have Facebook. Facebook, y'all are showing out every week with the shares, and I feel y'all love, and I really appreciate that. I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna be consistent. I want to be able to help people, and that's I just want to be able to help people while helping myself. So we will see you next week, Tuesday, same time, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Facebook and YouTube. I want y'all to have a good week, be blessed, have some conversations, and be healed. I'll talk to y'all later.